I never imagined that a simple cleaner could shatter a CEO's arrogance and change everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air felt electric, thick with anticipation. In the grand lobby of Belvoria Corp., a place bustling with power, the polished marble gleamed under the fluorescent lights. I stood there, mop in hand, heart racing, trembling hands barely gripping the handle. I was just a cleaner, invisible, but today would change all of that. As I wiped the floor, I caught glimpses of the executive meetings. Pristine suits, arrogance dripping from every word. They laughed at jokes that weren't funny. The CEO, Mr. Harrington, was the king of this castle. His every sneer made my skin crawl. He was a titan, I was just a shadow, but then I saw something unusual. A flicker of light from his office. A small, unassuming flash that pulsed against the darkness. I couldn't pull my eyes away. I knew I shouldn't intrude, but curiosity clawed at me. A secret meeting, perhaps? Maybe something scandalous was brewing just behind those glass doors, the tension could be cut with a knife. Moments later, the door swung open. The odor of cheap cologne and cigars wafted out. A shiver ran down my spine as I caught sight of Mr. Harrington, lips curled into a menacing smile. He was not alone. Behind him stood a figure cloaked in shadows strikingly familiar yet unrecognizable. My heart raced. Something felt sinister. As I mopped, I found myself straining to hear. Words floated down the corridor. No one can find out. He doesn't know. Each syllable was a hammer striking my chest. Fear. The stakes were higher than I imagined. What were they planning? My breath caught, confusion swirling in my stomach. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the lobby. The cleaning cart tipped over. I panicked, scrambling to gather the fallen supplies, my cheeks burning with embarrassment. But all eyes were now on me. Did they hear my eavesdropping? The room simmered with tension. Silence slammed against me, suffocating. Mr. Harrington's gaze locked onto mine. It pierced through the silence and sent chills racing down my spine. I dared to meet his eyes, deep, dark pools of arrogance, but for a fleeting moment, I saw something else. Fear. Regret. A flicker that vanished before I could grasp it. Then, the mysterious figure stepped forward. The light from the lobby illuminated their face. My breath hitched. It was someone I recognized, someone who should not have been here. A lump formed in my throat. Why were they involved in something so dark? I could feel the world around me shift, but I was too entangled in this moment, too lost in the chaos spinning in my mind. And as the CEO approached me, his smile disappeared. What do you think you're doing? He growled, the arrogance stripped away, revealing something raw and primal underneath. My heart pounded in my chest like a war drum. Was this the moment I crossed the line? Would this be where everything crumbled? I stammered, searching for words. I felt exposed, raw, my secret now hanging in the air, pulsing with uncertainty. Would I be fired? Or worse? And then I realized, the room had grown darker. I could sense something was about to unfold, something terrible that would change everything. Would I be able to expose the truth and redeem myself, or had I just unwittingly sealed my own fate? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The second stretched into an eternity as Mr. Harrington loomed over me, his presence commanding and oppressive. Each tick of the wall clock resonated loudly, a harbinger of the inevitable confrontation. I felt the weight of his stare, unyielding and seeping with an intensity that threatened to engulf me. I was a nameless face in a sea of power, yet in this moment, I was painfully visible. What do you think you're doing? He repeated, voice low and gravelly. The question hung in the air, a challenge I wasn't sure I could meet. My throat tightened, words failing to materialize amidst the clamor in my mind, drowning me in a turbulent ocean of fear and desperation. Then, as if a lifeline was thrown into my chaotic sea of thoughts, the mysterious figure stepped forward. It was Sarah, a fellow employee from the HR department, a compassionate soul who often broke the monotony of corporate coldness with her kind spark. Her eyes widened in alarm but quickly transformed into a reassuring semblance of understanding. She was my anchor, but would she truly risk her own security to protect me? Mr. Harrington, let's not turn this into a scene, she interjected, her voice calm but authoritative, exuding the necessary steel to fortify my fragile courage. Can't we keep some of our business within the confines of your office? The CEO's expression twisted, irritation flitting across his features. This is none of your concern, Sarah, he spat, but his gaze shifted to me, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face like lightning across a stormy sky. You shouldn't be in this situation, Sarah continued, unhindered. If you need to speak to someone, I can help you, but not like this. Please. I saw her plea, felt its urgency, but the fear of what might happen after coursed through me. Would they fire Sarah too? Would we both be swept away in the storm of Harrington's fury? In that heartbeat, the tension spiraled as I dared to speak, words spilling out in a bitter rush. I heard something important. I swallowed hard, summoning every ounce of strength within me. I need to know what's going on. Not just for me, but for everyone. Silence enveloped the lobby, thick and suffocating. A group of onlookers had gathered, eyes darting between us, breaths held witnesses to a precarious standoff where lives hung in the balance. I felt small under their scrutiny, a pathetic little figure caught in the crossfire. Mr. Harrington sighed, the air around us palpably tense, before leaning in closer. Do you realize what you're asking? His voice dropped again, low so only I could hear. You're treading on dangerous ground. You have no idea what people like us can do to protect what's ours. Even though I trembled inside, I straightened my back, challenging his arrogance with all the courage I could muster. And I have no idea what the consequences will be if you continue down this path. This was a different kind of power play, but deep in my gut, I felt the pressure of the truth pressing against me, begging to be unleashed. Suddenly, a vibrant burst of energy enveloped the scene as a younger colleague slipped through the gathering crowd. Jessie, a fresh-faced intern, reminded me of the spark of youth we all once had before entering this stark realm of ambition. Wait! She called out, her voice like a ray of light piercing through dark clouds. What if we don't have to keep it hidden? What if her enthusiasm caught the ear of everyone present? But before she could finish, Mr. Harrington turned sharply. You don't understand. He barked, silencing her with sheer force. Just as I thought the clash would intensify, the emergency alarm blared above us. The high-pitched wail filled the air, demanding immediate attention, and it broke the standoff. Everything disintegrated into chaos as people scrambled toward the exits. In the frenzy, I caught one last glimpse of Harrington's face, an amalgamation of fury, guilt, and fear. As everyone rushed to safety, I found myself pulled close to Sarah and Jessie, their determination radiating through the smoke of anxiety. We need to talk, Sarah said, urgency. Stitching her words together. We can't just let this go. There's more at stake than we know. With the alarm blaring and bodies pushing us toward freedom, I felt the possibility of a different kind of courage emerge, one born from solidarity. It was terrifying yet invigorating to think that perhaps we could stand together against the darkness, but just as we turned to flee, another revelation struck me. What if I had been wrong about my assumptions? About Harrington? What if there was more to this sinister dance that involved echoes of heartbreak rather than mere greed? And what if uncovering the truth meant venturing deeper into something that could shatter all our lives forever? As I followed Sarah and Jessie into the fluorescent chaos of the street outside, a new gnawing uncertainty replaced my earlier resolve. The world spun with questions, but one weighed most heavily. Would I still want to uncover the truth even if it meant digging into my own past? And what were the true consequences of standing up against the titan that was Mr. Harrington? What lay ahead felt darker than anything I had ever imagined, yet behind that arch of uncertainty, a flicker of resilience ignited, beckoning me forward to face whatever storm awaited. The streets were a hurried blur of commotion, the din of the alarms slowly fading behind us as we took flight. I felt the cool air whip against my skin, a stark contrast to the oppressive heat of the lobby moments before. Sarah and Jessie kept a steady pace beside me, their presence a tangible reminder that I was not alone, that this wasn't just my battle anymore. "Where do we go?" I called out over the thinning noise, my heart still racing, spiraling with both dread and an unnameable exhilaration. To my car. "It's just around the corner," Sarah shouted back, guiding us with purpose. We can't hang around here for long. We rounded the corner of the building, the facade still glimmering in the stark daylight. The reckless chaos of the moment spilled into laughter and shouts. The alarm had jolted the pulse of the city. People were talking, phones were pulled out, and yet here we were, wrapped in our own cocoon of secrets. As we approached Sarah's car, I felt a frantic urge to know what would happen next. "Do you think hell come after us?" I whispered, trembling at the thought of the storm machine we were stirring. "Possibly," Sarah replied gently as she unlocked the car, pausing to meet my gaze. "But we can't let fear decide our fate. If there's something wrong, we have to find out what it isn't just for ourselves, but for all of us stuck in that corporate web. The truth might be our safest bet." I nodded, swallowed by the weight of her words. It was in this moment that I realized how long I had let fear and uncertainty dictate my actions, locking me in a cage of silence while the world whirled on around me. Jessie climbed into the back seat and leaned forward, her forehead resting between the two front seats. "I mean, what if we end up being heroes? Everyone always says the truth will set you free, right? What's the worst that could happen?" As she spoke, a spark ignited inside me, though flickering, still vulnerable. If we could uncover something meaningful, something that could shift the balance of power, it might change more than just our fates. Once we settled into the car, Sarah turned the keys in the ignition, and I noted the strength in her hands as she gripped the wheel. "Where do we start?" I opened my mouth as though the words would spill out, but an unexpected chill accompanied the thought. What connection did I have to this truth? My heart raced with that realization. What if digging deeper unearthed buried aspects of my own past, one I was not prepared to confront? Instead, I spoke haltingly. I heard whispers talk of deals made, decisions hidden away. I can't help but wonder if there's something tied to Harrington that connects to me. Sarah's brows knitted together. Connections? What kind of connections? I hesitated, biting my lip, weighing the implications of sharing the shadowy pieces of my history. Then memories of my father rose to the surface. Had worked in this very corporation, once driven by ambition, only to succumb to its darker undercurrents. Before he died, he mentioned something about corruption in management. Unethical partnerships. I didn't understand it then, but now your father. Jessie's words came out gentle, as if she knew this was more fragile ground than any of us wished to tread. Yeah, I murmured. He always spoke in riddles. I thought he was just being paranoid. But now I can't shake the feeling that it's all interconnected. Sarah shifted in her seat, choosing her words like precious stones. We can start looking into your father's past, see what he might have left behind, files, emails, anything. If we can find a connection, it might help us understand Harrington better. Before I could respond, a thought struck my mind like a lightning bolt. What if digging into my father's past not only revealed Harrington's secrets but also uncovered wounds I hadn't faced? The prospect of discovering my own lineage, the truths woven into my family's legacy, filled me with trepidation and a hint of anticipation. Okay, I finally said, resolution igniting within me. Let's do it. As the engine roared to life and Sarah pulled out onto the road, I felt a shift. Inside. The air was tense with unspoken promises, threads of hope and fear intertwining as we forged ahead, but just as we turned the corner, something in my peripheral vision set my heart racing. A sleek black car sat inconspicuously across the street, engine humming, its tinted windows concealing whoever might be inside watching us. The heaviness in my stomach intensified. Was it coincidence, or was Harrington already onto us? Do you see that? I breathed, panic spilling over. Yeah, what are we looking at? Sarah's voice remained steady, but I could sense the unease tethering her thoughts. There was no time for an answer. Before any of us could act, the black car's engine roared to life, lurching forward in pursuit. That in a moment of reckless determination, I called out, "Step on it, Sarah. We need to lose them." The adrenaline coursed through my veins, urgency spiraling with raw terror. As we raced away, I glanced back, my heart pounding in sync with the thundering of my doubts. Who was behind that wheel? What did they want? And what if the murky threads of my past entangled us all in ways we could never have anticipated? With every twist and turn, I was aware that this was only the beginning. And as the world blurred around us in a frantic chase, one question lingered like a shadow, daunting yet captivating. How deep was I willing to plunge into the truths hidden beneath the weight of corporate darkness, into a past that might define every future I'd hoped to reclaim? The roar of the engine drowned out the sound of my racing heart, but as Sarah weaved between cars, every instinct in me screamed that we were drawing closer to the edge. The black car trailed us with relentless determination, an ominous phantom that mirrored our panic. "Hold on!" Sarah exclaimed, gripping the wheel tighter. The car accelerated, tires screeching against the asphalt, and I felt the lurch in my stomach that came with a desperate flight. Jessie's hands clutched the seat, eyes wide with an electrifying mix of fear and exhilaration. "Turn left. It's a shortcut," I shouted, directing Sarah as instinct took over. She swerved, and the vehicle bucked beneath us. Concrete gave way to a narrow alley, shadows creeping closer as if the walls themselves were closing in. "That worked. Keep going," Jessie cheered, though her voice trembled. I could hear it, the quavering resolve layered beneath the bravado. But just as we breathed a collective sigh of relief, a loud crash reverberated from behind us. The black car had taken the shortcut too, the sound echoing like thunder. My heart sank. They were relentless. This was far from over. In that moment, every urge to turn back surged through me, to veer onto a safer path, but fear had a way of amplifying the stakes. I thought of my father's vague warnings, the sense that something had always felt rotten beneath the corporate veneer. Was it worth it to push deeper, knowing the cost? Where to now? Sarah shouted, barely able to hear me as we zipped through the alley. "Just keep going. We need to find a way out," I yelled, adrenaline driving my words. Sarah glanced at me, a determination ignited in her gaze. "And then what? What's the plan once we shake them? We can't run forever." My mind raced, grappling with the pressing reality of what lay beyond this chase. I don't know," I admitted. "But we need to get to a safe place. We can't let them intimidate us. We have to uncover what's at stake." Unexpectedly, Jessie's voice cut through the haze of panic. "Forget about them. We need to focus on your father's files. There's a chance he could have left something behind that will motivate us further." The realization seemed to dawn on her. "If we can find something of real value, we can expose Harrington." Sarah took a sharp left, abruptly halting our path against a row of metal containers. The sudden stop jolted us, and I instinctively braced against the dashboard. The black car skidded to a halt several yards behind us, its driver already stepping out, a silhouette against the shrouded light. Who was it? What did they want? "Get out!" Sarah commanded, her voice a mix of urgency and resolve. "We have to get out of here." We scrambled out of the car, hearts pounding as our feet hit the ground, the grit of the alley cold against our soles. I could feel my pulse quickening, a tidal wave of dread crashing over me. "Where do we go?" I stammered, scanning our options as the figure in the black suit approached, but just as my mind began to spiral, I caught a glimpse of the manic rainy familiarity coloring my thoughts. No. It couldn't be. Wait. I know him. I gasped. "Who?" Jessie asked, expertly maintaining her focus on the advancing figure. Derek Harrington," I muttered, horrified. He was a name ingrained in childhood whispers, a face obscured by the shadow of my father's caution. He had been my father's colleague, a known name in the darker affairs that once muddied my household. My heart raced, not entirely from fear, but a rush of uncertainty that washed over me. If he recognized me, what consequences would follow? Would he disclose things I had watered down in my memory, or could he shake the very foundations of this fragile unity we had recently woven together? In a heartbeat, Jessie pressed her back against a container, eyes focused squarely on me. What do we do? I need to confront him, I breathed, each word heavy with trepidation. But somewhere beneath the fear was a sliver of emerging courage, a potential breakthrough erupting from the ashes of my childhood shadows. This could change everything. As Derek Harrington drew nearer, I felt the heaviness of my past coiling around me, echoing with each step. The truth loomed just out of reach, a pendulum ready to swing, but would it uplift us or shatter our fragile hopes? Wait. I called out, my voice threading through the tension that crackled in the air like charged electricity. Derek halted, the glimmer of recognition in his cold eyes provoking a smirk that dug into my core. Surprised to see you here, child, he replied smoothly, his voice oozing with a condescending familiarity. I thought you'd stay hidden, like the secrets your father buried. But I guess New York has a way of bringing back memories. Those words cut through the filmy haze enveloping my mind, ripping open a door of buried emotions I had never anticipated facing. I had taken a step into the precise moment I had dreaded, both fraught with peril and teeming with the promise of revelations cloaked in half-remembered truths. As I stared into Derek's eyes, a new wave of hesitation crashed over me. Just how deep was I willing to plunge into this unknown, risky destiny that felt like a tumultuous storm? It was a collision of old wounds against new hopes, and there was no escaping the reality that, when the truth unfurled, it might reshape every aspect of my world forever. Would I find closure in confrontation, or would it open portals to even darker fates? In the depths of my beating heart, one fact crystallized: I had only just begun to unravel the tapestry my life had woven, and the threads were tightening around me. The air felt thick with memories I wasn't sure I was ready to face. I clenched my fists, trying to quiet the thunder of uncertainty threatening to drown me. What do you want, Derek? I managed to ask, my voice trembling slightly under the weight of his condescending gaze. He chuckled softly, a sound laced with mockery. Isn't it obvious? I'm here to collect what belongs to my employer, and it seems you're holding on to it quite tightly. There was a deliberate coarseness in his tone that set my teeth on edge, yet amidst it all, my body responded with an unexpected defiance. Fear and anger collided in a tumultuous swirl within me. Go back and tell Harrington that I'm not afraid of his threats anymore. My voice steadied, the words released like a challenge rather than a plea. Sarah and Jessie stood silently behind me, uncertainty rippling among us as we straddled the precarious line of confrontation. Derek's smirk faltered for just a heartbeat, and in that instant, I saw the glimmer of something else beneath the facade, a flicker of concern, perhaps. But it disappeared as quickly as it had come. You were never afraid, were you? He stepped closer, invading my space with calculated intent. But fear isn't your greatest enemy anymore. No, there are more insidious forces at play. You've thrown yourself into a game you're ill-prepared for. Jessie's hand tightened on my shoulder, and I felt a rush of strength flow between us, a shared conviction that swelled beneath the chilly air. The darkness of his words couldn't extinguish the flickering flame igniting within me. If it's a game, then let's play. I'm not backing down. Derek nodded, feigning admiration. Ah, such fire. It's adorable, really. But you should know your father wasn't nearly as brave. Every step he took to unearth the truth just led him deeper into despair. At that moment, my pulse quickened, a fresh wave of anxiety crashing through me. What do you know about my father? What happened to him? The words poured out before I could censor them, a desperate need to bridge the largely unanswered questions that had cast shadows over my childhood. Everything, actually, he replied coolly, the mockery returning. But piece by piece, in time. You may wish to consider that ignorance is bliss. The crushing weight of his words felt like a tangled noose wrapping tighter around my chest. My childhood memories were fragile, but the image of my father fumbling with documents late into the night returned, his brow furrowed with worry, the look he gave me when I entered the room almost pleading. What had he uncovered? What had he known? Leave him out of this, I shot back, defiance fueling me anew. I took a step closer to Derek, willing my feet to carry me further. I was no longer that child hiding behind walls. I was standing firmly in my truth now, no more running. But how could I? Derek stepped back, feigning innocence as the shadows of the alley danced upon him. Family loyalty so often clouds our judgment, doesn't it? Especially when secrets start to unravel. The churning fear within me was now touched with the prospect of unraveling threads. Could it be that there were pieces to this puzzle I could still salvage? Yet, his words also prompted a deeper unease, one that clutched at my heart and gave way to doubt. What if my father's secrets were too dark, too dangerous? What if the truth he protected was far worse than I imagined? In that electric pause, surrounded by the echoing silence of the alley, a loud crash interrupted our standoff. The metal door of a nearby warehouse flew open, startling us. Shadows poured from it, spilling into the dim alleyway. Figures clad in dark clothing, their eyes scanning for something, someone. Derek. One of them barked, drawing attention. My heart dropped as clarity dawned on Meth. Black Car had not just been pursuing us, they had come to collect him, too. Derek's composure faltered for an instant as the men approached, and anxiety flickered in the depths of his icy gaze. This isn't how it was supposed to go, he muttered, almost to himself, yet loud enough for us to hear. What's happening? Jessie whispered, an edge of panic creeping into her voice. Run. I shouted, and with instinct surging through me, I grabbed Jessie's hand while Sarah rushed forward, pulling us both away from the chaos lurking at Derek's feet. Panic coursed through our bodies as we darted past the containers, adrenaline propelling us forward. I couldn't look back, but the lingering hostility from Derek and the unknown men chased us like dark whispers, the suffocating fear knocking at my back as we skidded around corners, desperation fueling our escape. But as I glanced over my shoulder, I caught Derek's eyes, an unmistakable flicker of rage intertwined with a silent warning. This wasn't over. The shadows looming behind us were just the beginning, veiled threats etched in his gaze. Despite the distance growing between us, now, with darkness trailing at our heels, all I could think of was how deep my father's secrets ran and what Derek actually knew. The threads of my reality were unraveling before my very eyes, and I realized that the truth I sought might be far more dangerous than anything I had imagined. As we accelerated into the night, racing against a storm of revelations, one thought coiled through my mind: was unraveling the truth worth the peril it would bring? Would it ignite hope, or would it fracture the very fabric of who I was meant to be? The city lights flickered like distant stars as we ran, their glow barely penetrating the heavy cloak of night that wrapped around us. My lungs burned, each breath coming fast and shallow, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. Not with the impending dread nipping at my heels and urging me forward. My mind raced, a tempest of thoughts crashing against one another. Where are we going? Sarah gasped, her voice laced with worry. Just keep running. I urged, not looking back. I had no clear destination, only an instinct to survive, to escape whatever dark force had just collided with our lives. Jessie, panting beside me, glanced around, her wide eyes reflecting both fear and determination, but even as I sprinted aimlessly, my mind kept circling back to Derek's words. Ignorance might have been bliss, but it was a luxury I could no longer afford. My father had buried something deep, a truth that could threaten everything I knew. What if he had been fighting for us, for our safety, and those shadows now sought to claim what he had tried to protect? As we darted through the maze of alleys and side streets, the adrenaline blinded me to the coolness of the night until we stumbled into a small park, overgrown with weeds and the memories of laughter long past. The street lamps were dim and flickering, casting ghostly shadows that danced across the cracked pavement. We halted, falling against a cold bench, gasping for air. I felt Sarah's hand clasp around my wrist, a grounding presence amidst the chaos swirling within. What are we going to do? She whispered, and I caught the tremor in her voice. That I don't know, I admitted, the weight of uncertainty settling heavily in my gut. But we need to figure out what Derek really knows. Maybe he's not the only one who has answers. Jessie nodded, her brows knitted in concentration. If we're going to confront this, we need to find someone we can trust. Did your parents have any friends, anyone who might have known what really happened? I closed my eyes, a flood of memories washing over me. My mother used to mention a woman named Claire. She was a family friend, more like an aunt, really. But my voice trailed off. I had heard my father speak of her only in hushed tones. Burdened by secrets themselves, what could she reveal after all these years? We need to go to her, Jessie suggested with fierce resolve, though the hesitation hung heavily in her eyes. She might hold the key to everything. As we sat there, formulating what felt like a reckless yet necessary plan, a gentle rustle broke through our preoccupations. We turned to see a large dog bounding towards us, tongue lolling, its tail wagging wildly. It stopped a few feet away, slumping to the ground as if eager to join our pitiful little gathering. "Look at that," Sarah chuckled softly, the sound a welcome reprieve amidst the bleakness. "He's just as lost as we are." With an involuntary smile, I reached down to scratch behind the dog's ears. "Maybe hell help us find our way home," I murmured, savoring the simple moment of unexpected kindness. The dog leaned against me, its warmth soothing the tension tangled through my insides. But that fleeting comfort was short-lived as shadows skated across my mind, reminding me of the stakes that had put us here. It felt like a mockery of peace amidst the chaos brewing just beyond our little sanctuary. Just as I began to compose a plan in my mind, the sudden drone of an engine roared to life, slicing through the night like a serrated knife. My heart dropped, a sense of dread coiling in my stomach. The headlights of a car pierced through the shadows, illuminating our hiding place momentarily. "We need to go now," I exclaimed, adrenaline snapping me back to reality. The dog perked up, barking at the initiating threat. As we scrambled to our feet, I couldn't shake the feeling of being hunted. In the rush of escaping that glaring light, I felt the heavy hand of panic grip my heart. It spurred us onward, and we darted through the trees toward the far end of the park, weaving in and out of shadows, desperately avoiding the glow of headlights. As we made our way toward safety, the sudden weight of claustrophobic fear clung to me, overwhelming sensation that the deeper I delved into my past, the closer I would be to a truth that could shatter everything around me. Out in the open road again, we slowed momentarily, gathering our breath, but that fleeting pause was broken by the sound of footsteps echoing in the distance. The impending danger thrummed just beneath my skin. What if they find us? Sarah's voice trembled, the reality settling over us like a shroud. "They will," I responded, my tone impossibly calm against the chaos. The shadows were no longer just phantoms, they were real and drawing closer, threatening to consume me. "Then why are we still here?" Jessie's frustration spilled out, mingling with her anxiety. "Because we can't run from the truth. We have to confront it," I stated, each word heavy with purpose, and yet, it felt like a fool's errand. As I looked deep into their frightened eyes, panic surged anew within me, but there was that spark of hope glimmering right underneath, the hope of uncovering the truth, no matter the cost. And just as I resolved to take the next step into that daunting unknown, my phone buzzed unexpectedly in my pocket, the sound cutting through the air and halting my thoughts. I fished it out, holding my breath as I saw the number on the screen. It was Claire. My hands trembled, and a weighty sense of inevitability crashed over me. It felt like a harboring storm ready to unleash its fury. Should I answer? What could she possibly say that would alter the course of this spiraling nightmare? In that vulnerable moment, I turned towards my friends. Their faces mirrored my uncertainty, yet also a readiness to stand by me, come what may. This was a chance, a thin thread of hope, but it might also lead us further into peril. Would I have the strength to confront whatever awaited me on the other end? With a shaking finger, I pressed the green button to answer, heart pounding in rhythm with the uncertainty of the approaching night. The moment I pressed the answer button, the world around me dissolved into a muffled haze. Claire's familiar voice, laden with years of unspoken words, pierced through the chaos. "Is that you, Ava?" she breathed, a mix of relief and trepidation coloring her tone. "Claire," I managed to reply, my voice barely above a whisper. The dog, still leashed to my side, whimpered softly, as if sensing the gravity of the situation. My friends hovered nearby, tension coiling in the air, their anxiety palpable. I've been trying to reach you," Claire continued, her voice strained. "There are things you need to know, things your father didn't get the chance to explain." That a rush of dread swept through me, swirling with the flicker of hope that perhaps she held the answers we so desperately sought. "I don't," my words faltered, the enormity of the question hanging heavy. "I don't know where to start, just listen." The urgency in her voice lured me closer. "There are people who are looking for you, dangerous people who want to make sure the past remains buried. Your father was caught in the crossfire," and Claire's words clipped off abruptly, her voice swallowed by the sudden noise of metal scraping against concrete. Jessie's eyes widened, a whisper of realization catching in her throat. "We have to move," she insisted sharply, her gaze darting toward the path where the footsteps had grown louder, more menacing. "Claire, we don't have much time." "What should I do?" I pressed, feeling my heart race with every second. "That I'll meet you," she said, her tone tight. "At the old diner on Mill Street. It's quiet, you can talk there. Just promise me you'll hurry." "But Ava. You need to go now." Claire's voice raised an octave, full of adamant urgency that left no room for protest. I looked at Sarah and Jessie, reading their worry mirrored in my own. The instinct to run was stronger than the desire to linger on the phone, to press Claire for more. "We'll be there," I promised, my resolve firming up against the raw edge of fear. Before I could say goodbye, she cut the call. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding in symphony with the pounding in my ears. Then I tucked the phone away and turned to Jessie and Sarah. "She wants to meet us." At the diner on Mill Street, Jessie glanced back toward the darkened park, shadows looming like silent witnesses, and shuddered. "Time's running out. We need to go, now." Her voice held an edge I hadn't heard before, a resonance of primal determination. As we set off, the night air crackled with tension, and every footfall echoed the weight of secrets long buried. We navigated the familiar streets, but the asphalt felt foreign beneath my feet, the landmarks morphed into a labyrinth of uncertainty. A gnawing pit lingered in my stomach as we ran, Claire's warning echoed endlessly in my mind. Were we truly safe? How deep did this rabbit hole run? Suddenly, a blaring horn brought us to a halt. A car screeched around the corner, tires veering dangerously close as a figure leaned out the window. "There they are!" a voice shouted. Panic surged through my veins, crystallizing in my chest. "Run!" I screamed, the words spilling out in a frantic rush. With hearts pounding fiercely against our ribs, we sprinted in disparate directions, desperation driving each step. I veered left, veering between parked cars, feeling the cool air whip past my face. Each glance back revealed nothing but shadows, but the weight of eyes seemed to follow me, urging me to keep going. My phone buzzed again, but I ignored it, focusing on the sound of my friend's hurried footsteps echoing just behind. Still, anxiety crept in, nagging at the edges of my mind. What if one of us got caught? What if we lost each other in the confusion? Moments later, we regrouped, breath hitching in unison as we paused behind a brick wall, the distant glow of the diner flickering like an unsteady flame ahead. Each heavy breath felt like a stolen moment of serenity in the chaos, but even that was short-lived. That we rounded the corner at the diner, the neon sign casting an otherworldly glow. But what should have felt like a sanctuary sent icy chills through my bones. The front doors swung open and a figure stepped out, and my heart froze. It was Derek. That he stood there, silhouetted against the neon lights, a faint grin painting his face, but with it, an unreadable tension that instantly sparked 1,000 questions within me. No one was supposed to know we were here, no one but Claire. "Derek?" I called, my voice uneven, the doubts washing over me in waves. He took a step forward, and my instincts screamed for me to run, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the familiar warmth in his voice, or the flicker of concern in his eyes. "You're in danger," he said, urgency laced in every syllable. "And I can help you." With each passing second, as the shadows of our past drew closer, I felt the ground shift beneath me. This was not the moment for reunion or worry, it was a crossroads of conflicting loyalties and desperate choices. And just when I thought fate could not twist any further, I heard a voice from the shadows behind Derek, cold and commanding. "There you are. We've been looking for you. The chill of impending darkness wrapped around me, the realization striking hard, that I had walked straight into the heart of a trap. The tableau in front of me came alive with hesitation, each breath laced with dread. The sharp edge of danger was palpable, a knife poised to slice through the fragile thread holding us together. Derek's figure was a beacon of warmth against the night's crushing cold, yet the shadowy presence looming behind him sent a chill down my spine, freeze-framing my sense of reality that I felt Sarah and Jesse inch hesitantly behind me, their collective breaths minute echoes of my burgeoning panic. My mind raced, parsing the incomprehensible maze of allegiances and fears, while the voice behind Derek slithered into my consciousness, deep and resonant. There you are. We've been looking for you, what do you want? I managed to stammer, my voice cloaked with equal parts defiance and fear. Clarity and confusion wove in and out of my thoughts like a desperate dance. I could not comprehend the significance of my mere presence, yet here I was, the center of someone's volatile universe, your father's legacy, the voice retorted, oozing with disdain. It's time you learned the truth, Ava. Derek's expression shifted as if something profound sparked within him upon hearing the words. His brows furrowed, and he stepped forward. Don't listen to them. They're lying. You're not safe here, the figure brushed aside Derek's assertion with a cruel chuckle. Ah, the loyal knight. But loyalty only gets you so far when you have no idea of the game at play. You're merely a pawn, Ava, the flicker of anger ignited within me, but panic extinguished it just as swiftly. I don't know what you want. I swayed slightly, uncertainty clouding my thoughts. The stakes felt astronomically high, and the weight of expectation crashed around me like glass echoing in a hollow room. Derek, visibly agitated, stood between me and the dangerous figure. Let's not escalate this. Ava, please, we need to get out of here. Now, but it was like trying to shift wind with bare hands. I had an instinct to flee, yet the magnetic pull of unanswered questions anchored my feet. My mind spiraled, tugging me toward the truth Claire had hinted at, her warning flashing like neon lights. But the diner, I murmured, where's Claire? The figure behind Derek leaned into the glow of the diner's lights, revealing gaunt features framed by dark hair. Their eyes glinted with malicious amusement. Ah, yes, dear Claire. She's out of the picture for now, don't worry, her absence won't be permanent. There was a sadistic thrill in their voice that made bile rise in my throat. No. You can't, I shouted, but Derek's firm but gentle grip on my shoulder silenced me. Ava, we need to go. Now. His voice was a low, steady anchor amidst the storm swirling around me, but fear laced through my veins, creating a wordless tension that pulsed in the air. What did Claire know? Why was Derek defending me, and could I trust him enough to follow his lead? My voice cracked under the weight of unanswered questions. Why are you helping me? What's in this for you, Derek? His gaze deepened, earnestness flooding back into his expression. More than you know. There's so much more at stake here. Trust me, please. Before I could respond, the figure stepped closer, their presence like a freezing draft cutting through the room. You don't need Derek's protection. Your true family is waiting for you, those who can elevate you, who can help you achieve something beyond what any illusion of safety could offer. Fear twisted my stomach into knots. I don't have a family. Not anymore, I asserted, holding tight to the remnants of my past. You'd be surprised, Ava. Their voice was silk, wrapped around us both. Just because you've been told something, doesn't mean it's the entire truth. A tremor shot through my body as glimpses of my past rushed into view. A father keeping secrets, a mother trying desperately to shield me from shadows. My thoughts whirled like leaves caught in a storm. How much had been kept from me? The sense of how fragile everything was coalesced within me, the moment teetering on the precipice of revelation. A revelation I wasn't sure I wanted. Derek shifted closer, the warmth of his presence a stark contrast to the creeping dread. We can unravel this together, but you need to trust me, he said softly. The figure feigned a laugh. Trust? Oh, dear, trust is a luxury you cannot afford at this moment. Their voice dipped, wrapping around my heart like a serpent. Say yes to our offer, or brace yourself for the consequences. Your choice will determine everything. Every nerve in my body screamed for action, for understanding, but I felt paralyzed by the immensity of the moment. Jesse's whisper broke through the haze, almost drowned out by the encroaching darkness. Ava, we can't stay here. In that instant, clarity emerged like a beacon through fog, a fragile thread woven through chaos. We need to go, I declared, heartbeat pounding like a war drum against my ribs. With one last glance over my shoulder at the figure cloaked in shadows, I took a step back, my decision bloom of resolve. But just then, the sinister edge of the figure's voice whispered across the distance, sending icy fingers up my spine. You may run, but you cannot hide forever. We will find you, and when we do, the truth shall shatter your world. With that, we turned and bolted, the weight of what lay ahead like stones in our pockets, propelling us forward but filling our hearts with uncertainty. A new horizon of mysteries unfolded before us, and just as promise flickered in the alley of darkness, the earth shifted beneath my feet, leaving me to wonder if the path I was running toward was one of hope or an even deeper abyss. The world spun like a carousel out of control after we escaped the diner. Outside, the night air was thick with the scent of rain and regret. My heart raced, beating harder with each frantic step down the empty streets. Derek was at my side, his presence both comforting and maddeningly confusing. My instinct told me to trust him, but the figure's ominous words hung heavy in my mind. We should get as far away as possible, he urged, glancing back as if shadows themselves might come barreling after us. They're not going to stop searching for you, Ava, why me? The question slipped out before I could catch myself, reverberating in the stillness of our aftermath. What does my father's legacy even mean? I don't want it, I just want to be, me. Derek hesitated, rubbing the back of his neck, almost as if he was weighing the burden of my inquiries against a wall teetering with encroaching truths. It's complicated. Your father, he was part of something significant, and there are people who want to either protect that legacy or exploit it. You're caught in the crossfire, caught? I echoed incredulously. Why does it feel like I'm the only one who has no idea what's going on? With a small sigh, he finally met my gaze. Because no one ever wanted you to find out, especially him. It's not just about legacy, it's about power, family, survival. But you have the chance to break free from all of that. Venomous words from the shadowy figure swirled in my mind. You don't have a family. Not anymore. My heart clenched, seeping sorrow through the cracks of my resolve. Claire's absence was a tangible wound, and now my father had become a specter that loomed over my future, a specter I had never truly known. Let's just get somewhere safe, I urged. Then we can talk more. As we hurried through the pitter-patter of rain against pavement, I couldn't help but remember the comfort of Claire's laughter mingling with the hum of our small diner. How could any of this have unraveled so swiftly and completely? Our refuge came in the form of an innocuous coffee shop, its sign flickering like a lighthouse amidst a stormy sea. It was nearly deserted, the barista an older woman with kind eyes who looked at us with concern. I could sense the weight of our desperation, and I held my breath waiting for judgment or curiosity. Are you two all right? She asked, her voice warm and smooth like freshly brewed tea. Derek leaned against the counter, spinning a coin between his fingers. We just need a moment, please. My heart yearned for her kindness. Just some hot chocolate, if you have it. The small, familiar comfort felt like a lifebuoy in a tumultuous ocean. As she prepared our drinks, the serenity of the shop felt surreal amid the chaos. Is someone after you? She probed gently, intuition palpable in her expression. The question caught in my throat, but I remained silent. My fingers trembled, betraying the storm brewing inside me. I glanced at Derek, who looked equally pained yet steadfast. Just some issues we're working through, he finally said, assuring the woman without spilling our fears. As the warmth of the mugs enveloped my palms, I allowed myself a moment of clarity, pondering Derek's sincerity and what it meant for me to trust him. If the truth was out there, hidden behind layers of family secrecy and treachery, should I even seek it? Was the potential for devastation worth the pursuit of blurry revelations? I took a sip, the sweetness washing over my tongue, but it did little to soothe the gnawing ache within me. I caught Derek's eye, and for a fleeting second, I thought I sensed a mutual understanding bloom between us. But the fragile moment shattered as the door swung open, a gust of wind sweeping through the shop, chilling me to the bone. 3 figures entered, businesslike and poised, their expressions ghostlike in the dim light. My heart dropped into a canyon of dread as recognition pierced through the fog of my anxiety. They were associates of the figure from the diner, their presence a shadow of impending doom cloaked in tailored suits. Ava, one of them called, and his voice slid into my mind like ice. We just want to talk. Every instinct screamed to run, yet the possibility of hidden truths clung to me like an anchor. I glanced toward Derek, who now stood rigid, eyes narrowing as he positioned himself between me and the approaching threat. That he gestured for me to stay behind him, but the wall of silence grew thicker between us. You need to leave her alone, he warned, voice low and menacing that I could feel time lurch, each ticking second amplifying the urgency of the moment. In the depths of chaos, hope flickered dimly, but I could not shake the profound sense of loss that threatened to engulf everything I dreamed of. The figures leaned closer, and the tall one smiled, a chilling sight that left me breathless. No one gets to leave with their past intact, Ava. But you'll have a choice, and it's one you won't make alone. A shiver danced down my spine, air thick with foreboding. The truth was now a tempest, swirling around us, fingers threading through every decision I would have to face. The future loomed like an unfolding nightmare, every heartbeat a reminder that freedom held a price I might never be able to afford. And just as I thought I could pull myself from the edge of despair, Derek's grip tightened around my wrist, grounding me amidst the chaos of my own fear. Run, he hissed under his breath, and in that moment, I realized, the only choice left to me may very well define not just my future, but the entire legacy they wanted me to claim. The surroundings buzzed with adrenaline as we bolted back into the unforgiving streets, the rain drenching us in cold clarity. The oppressive weight of what lay ahead pulled me in every direction, an unseen tether binding me to the chaos, spurring me to uncover the truth that awaited. Where do we go? Sarah gasped, glancing around, her eyes wild with uncertainty. Jessie trotted closely behind, her breath coming fast in rhythmic beats, yet there was something steadfast in her gaze, an encouraging spark that reminded me we were in this together. We need to find Claire, I said, urgency flickering in my chest. She might hold the answers we're looking for. As I spoke, my heart thudded with both hope and trepidation. The diner felt like both a sanctuary and a trap. The thought of confronting more shadows of my past flooded me with an equal mix of dread. But she's connected, Jessie protested, her brows furrowing. What if they're using her to get to you? Then we go alongside her, to uncover what's true and what's not, I countered, my voice steadying with a newfound resolve. We have to face this head-on. Just as we sprinted across the road and ducked into a nearby alley, racing toward Claire's house, a distant shout rang out behind us, echoing off the brick walls like a prophetic warning. We will find you, Ava. The finality sent chills racing down my spine, but I forced my feet to move faster, feeling the spark of determination in my pulse, igniting a fire within that long-ID thought extinguished. It almost felt like stepping back into a part of my narrative, the story I had lived in shadows, hidden but always fighting to emerge. Moments later, we slipped through the cracked gate leading to Claire's small house, a relic nestled amidst the mundane chaos of urban life. I knocked frantically, my breath hitching in my throat. There was a long pause before I heard her familiar footsteps echoing down the hall, filled with apprehension and warmth. Claire opened the door, her eyes widening at my desperate expression. Ava. She breathed, pulling me into an embrace that felt like a long-awaited homecoming. What's happening? She asked, her voice soft yet edged with the ferocity of maternal protectiveness. You should have stayed away from the diner. I didn't know, I murmured, stepping back to breathe. But Derek, he said my father was caught in something bigger, something dangerous. Claire's face turned serious, her expression tinged with shadows of the past. Your father, she began hesitantly. He was brave, but his choices tangled with dangerous people. I had hoped to protect you. I swallowed hard, her words weighing heavily in the air. Still, the flicker of warmth in her grip ignited my resolve. But I need to know the truth, the whole truth. She nodded slowly, concern pooling in her hazel eyes, and motioned us inside. Then you must understand, your father did what he thought was right, but it cost him dearly, and now it may very well cost you. 2 seconds turned into minutes as we all assembled in her modest living room. The aura enveloping us felt ancient, weighed down with unspoken sorrows and long-held truths. "I kept a few of his files," Claire finally said, her gaze piercing through the webs of mystery. "Documents he left behind which I thought you'd need. He believed someone would come for them one day, and it could be you." With shaking hands, she retrieved a dusty, battered box from a hidden cupboard, filled with yellowed letters and forgotten documents, each telling a story of its own. As if drawn by invisible threads, I reached for if this was the key to everything. Laying the box in front of us, I dared to sift through forgotten relics of my father's life. My fingers trembled as I pieced together notes, each detailing encounters he'd had with someone named Mr. Harrington, dark dealings and secrets that threatened to shake the foundations of our world. Then I found it, a letter, hastily written, filled with urgency. "They cannot know what I've discovered. It's bigger than us. It could cost everything." "This is it," I breathed, realization dawning. He uncovered something, and they silenced him because of it. Fear coalesced in my chest, sweeping away my earlier bravado. Suddenly, the ground beneath me seemed to quake with revelation. Just as my father had feared exposure, so did I now. But there was something else contained within. A name stirred my memory deeper than I could understand. Derek Harrington. The same name lanced through the pages. Just as the ramifications began to sink in, the door rattled violently. A hand pounded against it, splinters flying in the wake of the force. "Claire!" I gasped, my heart racing as panic erupted in my voice. "We have to hide," Claire urged, panic rising in her voice as she ushered us toward a small walk-in closet nearby, shadows of uncertainty weaving tight threads around us all. That I stepped inside, Jessie and Sarah crowding close, and as the seconds thickened with tension, I could hear the footsteps of impending danger just beyond. The tension was a living thing, drumming against my skin as adrenaline coursed through my veins. The muffled voices grew louder, then came the conversation that sent ice through my blood. "Where is she?" came a deep, cold voice that I recognized. Derek's voice, laced with an underlying current of desperation. "She's not here," Claire said, her voice trembling but resolute, "but we know she comes here." "You're harboring her, Claire," came an icy retort laced with vehemence. "You have no idea the depths of what you're endangering. We're here to help her. She's not like you. She can surpass all of this. Let me use her," Derek's voice interrupted, claiming an unyielding order that sliced through the air. Dread pooled in my stomach, twisting alongside anger at feeling exposed and used as a pawn. "Ava has a choice in this," Claire countered defiantly, her eyes flickering with courage even as fear raced in the air. But the pounding door quaked again, and raw terror sparked anew. Each heartbeat echoed through the silence, reminders of the weight of promises long tangled in secrecy. With a sudden crash, the door splintered open, revealing the ominous figures emerging, casting shadows that engulfed us in a wash of dread. "Ava!" Derek called out, his face a mask devoid of cruelty, tormented and monstrous, capturing my gaze within a whirlwind. Something in me shifted, a simmering conflict churned my senses. Was I truly prepared to play the role of the pawn in this vast game of power? But in that frantic moment, a surprising clarity surged. I had a choice: either hide or to reveal myself. There was strength in standing firm against shadows. "I'm here," I declared, stepping forward from the closet, the heat of defiance coursing through me. All eyes turned to me, shock woven into their expressions. I took a deep breath, refusing to cower. "You've been playing your games for far too long. But I'm not afraid of your past, Derek. I want to know, who are you really?" Silence swirled in the air, crackling with an intensity that threatened to fracture the fragile ties holding everything together, my declaration hanging like a lantern amidst dark skies. The moment felt eternal, resonating with possibility. There were mysteries to unravel, but perhaps they could also be forged anew in the light of shunned truths. As I stood before them, my heart thrumming with resolve, I understood this was just the beginning. I wouldn't be a puppet, I would reclaim my narrative, no matter the cost, and set forth toward a looming horizon shrouded in chaos and discovery. And as the world around me swayed, I felt that this was my moment, resolutely a moment that could shatter all preconceived notions about fate, legacy, and power. Would I emerge stronger or would I drown within my past? That, I vowed, would be mine to discover. In that charged silence, I risked everything, standing firm. I choose to fight for the truth. My voice came out steady, each word resonating like a promise soaked in determination. What came next held the potential for destruction and redemption. And perhaps that was where my real journey began. In that deadly silence, I would illuminate the darkness of the life preparation sown in shadows.